Hey friends, welcome back to the Apocalypse Homestead. This is Kratos with Empowered Humans, which is the name of the channel, by the way. I forgot to mention that in my last video. And I did change the name of the channel and the thumbnail picture for my channel, and YouTube still shows that very angry looking picture of me with Kratos of Aru on it. Anyway, so in the last video I just talked about how and why we got here, and now we're going to start talking about how and why and what we're doing now that we're here. So I'm here at the heart and soul of the entire food production system. Is it the garden? No. Is it the rabbits, the chickens? No. It is the compost pile, and it's not the sexiest part of the homestead. But it is the lifeblood of the homestead, because without compost, you can't do what you need to do on a homestead. On a real self-sufficient homestead like I'm trying to build here, you have to have fertilizer. And I don't know if you've been paying attention, but there's a fertilizer crisis going on right now. Farmers are not able to get fertilizer to grow their food, and I think you're going to start seeing that big time. In food prices, and in feed prices if you raise animals, and of course on the supermarket shelves and freezers and coolers. So there's no fertilizer shortage here, guys. So when I talk about my compost system, there's many ways you can do compost, and it really helps if you have animals or you have access to animal manure. Over here, this is my rabbits. That is probably, arguably, the A1 best animal manure that you can get. And I'll show you. You could probably see down there that big pile of poop. And I just cleared that out. I honestly just cleared that out like last week. I cleared that out and I put it in here into the compost. So this is known as the ultimate compost system. If you Google or internet search Rodales organic ultimate compost system, you will find an article on Good Housekeeping for some strange reason, but it attributes the actual idea to Rodales Organic, which is a really excellent organic gardening and just homesteading source. So the concept is very simple. The actual plans that they'll give you will be to use actual lumber made of cedar, because it's rot resistant. I don't know, I could probably get it if I looked hard enough, but it would cost money, so I just use pallets instead. So the basic concept is simple. You've got 3 composting chambers, and each one will hold the compost at a different stage of decomposition. So your first chamber right here, and I'm going from left to right, guys, believe it or not, but the video makes it look like it's going right to left. Just the way it is. Sorry. But this is your fresh compost pile. This is the new compost. So what I'll do, I'll make a lasagna compost. So I'll take fallen leaves, which are your carbon, and I'll layer that using a trash can, just as a measurement, as a simple measuring device. So I'll use like half a trash can of wood chips and half a trash can of grass clippings. And then in between those layers, I'll add rabbit poop, I'll add chicken poop, and just rabbit and chicken poop mostly. If you don't have, and then also my kitchen scraps, of course. If you don't have manure, you might want to inoculate the pile by throwing, by using a 40-40-20 mix of fallen leaves for carbon, kitchen scraps, and grass clippings for your nitrogen. And then, so 40% of that, 40% of the leaves, 40% of the grass, and then 20% of some topsoil. The topsoil will inoculate the pile with the micro organisms that are going to break the whole thing down. And each time you're adding a layer, you're watering it down real good. You don't want to soak it, but you want to give it a good amount of water to bring the whole thing alive. And I do many layers of that, like that. And I let it marinate for about 6 to 8 weeks probably. You can let it, the longer you let it sit, the slower it'll decompose, but the more high quality compost you'll get. So it depends on your context, how quickly you need it. I need a lot of compost right now. Like I already don't have enough compost that I need because I ran out, and I'm in the middle of a massive. Well, I just finished up a massive garden building process, so I added a lot of compost to all of my new beds, and I added a lot more than I normally would have added if if I was just amending the bed rather than building the bed. So you build your first pile, let it sit for 6 to 8 weeks. Then you turn that pile into chamber number 2, and then you build a new pile in chamber number 1. 6 to 8 weeks later, 2 goes into 3, 1 goes into 2, build a new pile in chamber 1, and then let it go for 6 to 8 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks later, chamber 3 is ready to go in the garden, and then you just keep moving it, and then it becomes like an assembly line, churning compost out every 6 to 8 weeks. As long as you keep feeding it, as long as you have the material to keep building piles, it'll keep building beautiful, beautiful compost. So you can see this one's completely empty because I'm out of compost, and I'm going to turn this one. I'm going to turn this and start a new pile over the weekend. But this one is an intermediate composed pile. So you can see there's still some twigs in there, and there's it actually looks pretty good. But you can still see some undecomposed grass and leaves down here. When I start forking it over, you're going to see that it's not quite ready to go into the garden. So so a little secret that not a lot of people talk about. Is it raining right now? Sure is. Awesome. When they're making, a lot of people, I don't have a green thumb. How do I grow food? Blah blah blah. Guys, the secret is you don't grow food. You grow soil, and the soil grows the food. So you just grow the soil by learning. Do all the research you can. Watch some YouTube videos. It's really not that complicated. People make it into a complicated process, but it's not really a complicated process to make a lasagna compost. And if you just if you're using 40-40-20 or I got a big old raindrop on my camera there. Fantastic. Hold on a second, guys. How's that? That better? All right. Yeah. Cool. If you're using a 40-40-20 lasagna system, then you're pretty much guaranteed to have a really healthy compost product. Don't use too many coffee grinds, guys, and don't add any like oils or real fatty substances, and definitely don't add anything that's got salt added to it. It's kind of a tragedy around here where everybody eats crawfish, and I would love to tell everybody to give me your crawfish shells, but they put so much salt in that stuff that it would ruin your garden. So you don't want anything with salt in your garden. I don't know if you're familiar with history and the concept of salting the earth. Invading armies would punish their conquered foes by dumping salt all over their farmland so they can't grow anything. So you definitely do not want salt in your compost, which will end up in your garden, and it will accumulate over time and make your garden less and less viable. It's just not good for the soil. So no salt. And try to put as much, eggshells are fantastic. Try and grind them up first. I usually put my eggshells into my oven for 5 minutes just to cook off that membrane that holds it all together. That way when you crumble it up, it just crumbles the little tiny pieces. That's perfect. I'm not a fan of coffee grinds, guys. Coffee grinds are usually very high in pesticides, especially if you're not drinking organic. It's very acidic. I don't know. I just don't put it in the compost pile. There's many other uses, I'm sure, that you can implement for coffee grounds. I don't really recommend it for a compost pile. That's just my opinion. I'm sure people will disagree, but that's the compost pile. That is how you grow soil, and that's the most important part of growing food, guys, is growing soil. And like I said, if you can get some animal manure, rabbit is a pure herbivore, and you can literally just scoop their poop out and add it to the compost pile. It's probably better if you compost it for a little bit. You must compost chicken poop. It's way too hot. It's just better off just to compost it, guys. Just add it to your compost, and that poop actually will really fire up the heat of the decomposition. Like when you get some real strong decomposition in a pile, it gets hot, and the heat of your compost pile will actually kill off a lot of the weed seeds that are in there too. It'll help you out a lot too. So try and get some manure if you don't have rabbits. or chickens or some kind of animal besides a dog. Dog poop is, I mean, you can compost dog poop. I would compost it for at least 6 months. They're really high in pathogens, and most people feed their dogs just absolute garbage. No offense, but if you feed your dog garbage, they're going to poop garbage out. So that's all for now, guys. In the next video, I'll take you on a tour of our animal production. We've got rabbits and quail for meat, and we've got chickens for eggs, and sometimes meat, but we're really raising them for eggs. So I'll talk to you about that. And thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Make sure you hit like and please subscribe. Once I get 1,000 subscribers, I can do better things on the video editing end of YouTube. I can put a thumbnail image on my videos. YouTube always selects some ridiculous looking picture of me making a ridiculous looking face as the thumbnail image, and there's nothing I can do about it. So once I get 1,000 subscribers, which is daunting actually. I had a YouTube channel before this for like 3 years, and I had ended up with 60 subscribers. I guess I'm just not a very interesting person, but if you like my videos, please subscribe, please like, please share. And especially if you're local in my area, in the Picayune, Mississippi area, I will be at the farmer's market this spring once the tomatoes and squash and the peppers start coming in. So I'd love to show you how I do things here, and why my product is fantastic and worth the money. So I'll talk to you guys soon. I love you.